welcome to the Monday morning call with Paul. Got my special guest here, Amer. Super excited because I know it's been a long time coming for you to come up on here. Um, man, let's start with how long you've been with us, man. 'Cause that's, I mean, you kind of started when I started, almost, I think, or maybe a little bit after.
Yeah, dude, I've been in insurance for about 2.5 years now, coming up to my third year. I think at the start of the new
Yeah,
year. So
yeah.
2.5 years.
And then I'm trying to think of how we met. I think it was just on Zoom, right? I don't think the first time I met you in person was in Miami at the FFL conference. Um, and I remember that pretty vividly. I mean, I wish I could tell some of the stories from that, but this is, PG TV, so
Yeah,
a lot of that
definitely.
was PG-13, those
Yeah,
nightclubs. But
yeah.
all I know is, and I'll just tell everybody here is, man, Amir was just, everything was about booth and top shelf liquor, and he was just, doing this, and I was brand new and broke, and you know, was just trying to get in for free. You know what I mean?
Just want to show you a good
Um,
time.
yeah, they kept carding me. I don't know why, because, I feel like I am young, but man, look over 21.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was a great time though.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the first time me and you met was back when we tried to make this whole Zoom thing like a thing because back when I started, it was all in person, right? So a lot of us were doing in-person sits and all that kind of stuff. I
Yep.
was trying to learn obviously like the virtual sales. For those of you that don't know, I'm a part of Awakening. So back then we kind of had our own little Zoom, and then I met Samir, and he kind of introduced me to you guys and everyone here. So that's kind of how I think me and you met, Paul.
And then that's when you came to the dark side, right?
Yep, yep, the dark
Yeah,
side.
yeah. Well, hey man, so one of the things that I thought that, was very special about you is one, you started at a young age, right?
Yep.
How old were you when you jumped into business?
I was like 19.
Okay. And then what did you do before this? And how did you get involved into insurance? Like who gave you the idea? How did it all happen?
Yeah, dude. So I got into the working world at the age of 14. Actually, I was at Mickey D's, McDonald's. That's I got my first job at McDonald's. I was doing part-time there. Obviously, I was still in school.
Isn't
And
that
then at the
child
age of,
labor? 14? That seems like a bit early, bro. Like McDonald's
oh,
is doing child labor.
I mean, that's what it was a couple of years ago. I don't know what it is now.
Wow. Okay.
But at the age of 16, then I went over to a local grocery store. So I got into the grocery uh, industry, right? There was a local grocery store. Obviously, I was just a cashier, bagging groceries, that kind of stuff. At the age of 17, then I went over to Walmart. I was considered a personal shopper. So for those of you that shop at Walmart, those people that are going around loading groceries into like those
Oh, the
tubs.
little metal
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
carts with
So
the
I was
tubs
doing
in it.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I would load people's groceries and stuff. And during the winter, man, it was freaking cold. Like I would go out, you know, Iowa winters are cold, right? So I was loading groceries. It was really freaking cold, and I was like, man, I can't do this any longer. Like this is hell. So at the age of 18, I got a job at Wells Fargo. I was a teller. So I was there for about a year. And then one of my good friends, for those of you that know Z, he was at a practice company before, making the switch over to obviously FFL, right? He kind of brought me into the business. So he kind of talked about it. I was like, shoot, man, let's try it out. So obviously I got licensed, all that kind of stuff. Made my very first sale, and then I was like posting on social media about it, like, oh shoot, like first sale, this and that. I was
Hmm.
good friend with my boss at Wells Fargo at the time, and
Hmm.
he came up to me one day and he was like, Wells Fargo, for those of you that don't know, they sell insurance as well, right? So it was a conflict of interest for me selling insurance with FFL, but then also working with Wells Fargo. So I was left really just two choices. Either stick with Wells, or I am guaranteed a paycheck every 2 weeks. I get the benefits, I get the hours, all that kind of stuff. Or I make that switch over to insurance where it's just commission based, right?
Right.
So my young wild self, I put my 2 weeks in. I dropped out of college because at the time, college is not going for me. Dropped out of college and I attended my very first convention. It was, I believe, in 2022. I mean, and the rest you can say is history. I mean, my first year in insurance was by far the hardest year, just
Hmm.
because I came into insurance. I had, customer service experience, but I didn't have sales experience. So a lot of the stuff that I learned the very first year has came from me messing up losing a lot of money. But looking back at everything now, man, I'm grateful. I'm grateful where I'm at now.
Yeah. It's funny because, as you know, we interviewed Amen 2 weeks ago, and he quit college too, and it
Yep.
seems like kind of a more common thing as of late than it used to be.
Yeah.
So just kind of like unpacking everything you said. Um, do you think it was you said your young wild self, right?
Yeah.
Is it you just wanted to bet on yourself and see what could happen, or were you just attracted to the amount of money that you could make?
I think I was really attracted to the amount of money that people were making in the business. I
Uh-huh.
wanted to do that, myself as well. And I really just like the idea of like what could come from this. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I just told myself like this is going to work out. I just dropped out of college. I kept it a secret from my parents like for the longest time ever. My parents are
Wow.
they came from a war-torn country over here.
Right.
They've given me and my sisters everything. And I didn't want to break it to them that their son just dropped out of college. He went through all these years of school. They thought that I was going to go finish college, get a degree. So I was
Yeah.
scared to tell them. So I kept it a secret for the longest time ever. And then one day, the people from Wells Fargo, they like wrote me like a goodbye letter. Everyone signed it, all that kind of stuff. My mom found it and read it, and then she was disappointed. Definitely wasn't the happiest person ever. She was just disappointed, but yeah, she was really worried that I wasn't going to do good here.
How does she feel now?
I think she feels good. She's still worried about like obviously I'm young. She obviously sees the income and all that kind of stuff, and she's worried that I could go a couple of weeks not making any kind of sales, and all that kind of stuff, just because they're so stuck up on like, you get a job right, every 2 weeks you're going to be guaranteed a
It's all
paycheck.
guaranteed as long as you clock in and clock out. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, she still has the worry in the back of her mind that there might be a month where I don't make anything. But I just
Yeah.
think at 21 years old, I think my mindset is way different than a lot of other people my age. I mean, I came
100%.
back
Yeah.
from Bosnia on August 1st. The month of August, I went like I have like a profit tracker, right? The month of August, I went like negative. I was coming back. I couldn't close anything. I tried to get back on all these lead vendors. I wasn't closing. And at that point, somebody else, they just might think like that's it. Like I got to get out of the business. But I still pushed through.
Well,
I
let's
made all
let's
the money.
put that more into perspective. You
Yeah,
took a whole month off of work, right? And
I
went
did.
to Europe, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, and so that kind of makes sense, right? Most people don't have the luxury to take a month off, right? You got a job you're clocking in and out of. You're definitely not taking a month off. Most people don't even have 4 weeks vacation when they first start.
Yep.
So
And that's
yeah,
why
man.
all
So
those people out there on Zoom right now that have kids, have a family, I have the most amount of respect for them just because this business is tough. There's weeks where we don't make anything. And for those of you that still pull through, like I have so much respect for you guys. Obviously, I don't have any bills. That's one thing I'm grateful for. I'm still with my parents. So I can have those months, right? But there's people on here who have families, have, kids, all that kind of stuff, and they can't. And for you guys to actually pull through on those hard months, I got respect for you.
yeah. And on the flip side, you can make a lot in a week or a month or
Yep.
4 weeks. And I think most of it has to do with, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, it's all about consistency and discipline.
It is.
If you can have a bad week, but you're not going to have a bad month, because if you're having a bad month, then you're not reaching out to your upline, you're not listening and self-assessing your own calls, right? You're just doing the same thing and expecting different results. Um,
100%. That's the beauty of
yeah,
the business, right? You could go
yeah.
0 for 5, your 6 sit could be a huge sale. That's just the beauty of the business.
Well, for me personally, the worst I ever had was like 0 and 19, right?
Yeah.
And then the very next week, I wrote 20, right?
Yeah.
So,
I
you
was there,
know,
you told me all about it. Yeah.
yeah,
The thing with you, Paul, is you remain just like level, you weren't really like emotional about it. Yeah, you went, 0 for 19, but it's like you were so level to the point where you weren't worrying about like if you were going to make anything or not. Like that next week you went out there and you had such a big week. A lot of people, they might start, worrying, and then you go into your sales calls, people are going to be hearing it in the tone of your voice. But I was there that entire week with you, man, and you were just so level.
well,
So
there's a couple reasons for that, right? So one is that I know the field owes me, right?
def- definitely.
And then I knew the type of sits I was having and what adjustments I need to make, right? And then two, when I make those 20 grand weeks, I'm putting money aside so that I always have money, right? I think the biggest mistake most people do is they write the 20 and then they go blow it at the club or something, you know what I mean? And go to
Yep.
Vegas or whatever.
Yep.
And that's the very wrong thing to do. I always make sure that I have at least 10 grand in my account just for leads. So, I put money every sale that I get paid on, I put a percentage into that account. And I put a percentage into savings. And then I put another percentage in for my tax account so my taxes are paid. If you're not doing that, then yeah, and you go to the club and popping bottles and having a great time, and then you turn around and you have a bad week the next week, you could be right out of the business for sure, right?
100%.
You
100%.
if you plan ahead in life, no matter what kind of industry you get into, you'll be fine. And I think that's why I was able to stay calm and be cool, right? It's like I put money aside from previous, months and years, right? I'm prepared. And then I also know that, hey, if I'm not hitting, right? Even myself, and you can ask, I've been here a while and a lot of people think I can write a lot, right? I will still reach out to Roy, Isaiah, Anthony, Harold, anybody, Casey Thatcher, because sometimes I might just be forgetting something. I know it's weird to say because you're saying the same things all the time, right? But sometimes you've shortened your script or you shorten what you do. But the biggest thing that does great for me is listening, because I record my SIDs, listening to the ones I made sales on versus the ones I didn't, because I realized, oh, shoot, I've not been saying that. I haven't been asking the golden question. I've been shortcutting it or something else, right? And
Yep.
then boom, I'm right back in business, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's important.
I like what you said there. Yeah. A piece of advice I will give out to new agents is never stop being a student of the game, and don't try to recreate what's already working. A lot of people, they obviously come to the business wanting to create their own script, all that kind of stuff. It's like Harold has put something. I mean, he's a veteran, right? He's been in the industry for
15
uh,
years.
a long time now. So he's been through the ups and downs. He has a script in place that's working. So a lot of people that try to come to the business and try to recreate that don't. It's not gonna. It's not gonna work. I never try to recreate what's already working. So that's one piece of advice that I would give out to new people.
Yeah. Well, the real reason I brought you on here and I wanted to talk about is, you since I met you at 19, and like you said, you are not the normal 19-year-old, right? You're definitely thinking far ahead.
Mhm.
Um, what's sort of your vision with you and your team, Nedum and Z? Like, talk about them, how your group's working, and what sort of your guys' vision. I know recently you guys sat down together and said, okay, look, we're going to buckle down and this is what we're going to do. And I think it's important for people to hear that are brand new and thinking, I'm going to build a team, right? A vision is important for your team, like a goal that everybody is moving towards.
Right.
Um, yeah.
So I had a one of those late night convos with Samir. For those of you that know, Samir's always on here so freaking late at night. I hopped on one day and we were looking at my HCMS IP report. I was comparing the numbers, personal production, T production from the last 3 years, and we have gotten 25% better uh, year after year these last couple of years. For those people, that don't think that's a lot. For me, that is. I think that's a good increase for myself at this age. Me, Denny, Nedham, and Z, we really want to double by the end of 2025. The way we're going to do that is we're going to be putting a lot more ads out there for recruiting. Me and Nedham, we love posting on social media, kind of what we do whenever we close a deal. We always post it, just because people like to see that kind of stuff. The way I hired Nedham is it took him a full year before he reached out to me asking to join this industry. He wanted to see if I would still be in it after a full year. So I kept posting throughout the year. He then finally reached out to me one day and asked to join, and I got him on, and I can proudly say he's one of the top guys under me now. So we're going to be utilizing social media a lot more, putting out more ad campaigns, and I mean, we still need to be putting up big numbers ourselves. So upping our lead spend, just because people are attracted to numbers. So people like to see, obviously, if somebody sees somebody producing 20K a month compared to somebody producing, anywhere from 5 to 10K a month, they're always going to go to the person that's producing 20. So our goal is to make sure we're producing at a high level and still, posting on social media, kind of what we do and just blessing the opportunity to others.
So you guys are very heavy recruiting
Yep.
specified right now. So you've learned the business, you now know how to duplicate it, and the next steps is all about recruiting, right?
Yep. So because
So
back when I
go ahead.
started, Paul, I told myself I'm not going to bring anybody into the business if I don't know what I'm doing myself. So back when I had started, man, I was still learning. Like, how could I bring somebody on that has a family and then try to teach them how to be successful in this business? Like, I couldn't do that. So it took me like a full year, year and a half to actually fully learn the business, learn the psychology of a sale, learn what direction to put agents on, like for lead vendors, which direction to push them in. Um, and now that I have all that, I mean, we have amazing lead vendors. Obviously, I'm currently running Hall of Fame. Samir's about to launch Facebook ads. We have Nexus. We have Age Mortgage still. We have the leads. And I feel like now we have the scripts. We have all of the great leaders here as well. So now I'm more confident to go out there and actually reach out to people and bring them into this business just because of the amazing people we have here and the systems that we have now.
Yeah. So let's kind of dive more into recruiting, right? Because I feel like you kind of dived into it last year. What are you doing different between last year and this year? And what type of results are you seeing from it?
Yeah, I mean, I had a couple of agents that have fallen off, obviously from last year to now, right? What I'm
Mhm.
doing different is I think Eamon talked about it on the previous call, is just keeping track of my team's numbers, having a lot of one-on-ones with the team as well, kind of seeing how they're doing. My main thing is I want to make sure my people are going to be getting paid. So whenever we compare numbers, I always like to compare the 9-month advance. I don't care about the 12-month. I want to see how much the team is actually depositing, minus all of the lead spend. So I'm making sure that my team is getting paid, that they have the training that they need. So that's probably just two things I'm doing a little bit different to hopefully make more people stick. Because back then I wasn't there for my people. I wasn't producing at a really high level. Um, so yeah, I'm definitely going to be turning up my own production a notch. I'm always doing these one-on-ones, making sure my people are good, and then always just guiding them to the direction. If I don't know the answer to something, I know somebody else does on the team. So
It's cool that you recognize that a lot of times we don't realize that there's adjustments that we need to make ourselves in order to make our team healthier, right?
yep,
Um, and so a good leader, I think, always thinks, well, what can I do differently first, right? And then you can kind of dive in deeper, to each individual agent that you're working with, right? What obstacles they need to overcome, and sort of
yep,
keeping track of that, so you can always refer back to it. Okay, so they had this, challenge that came up, and then we tweaked a couple things, and then it fixed it, and then we had another challenge, right? Tweaked it, fixed it, right? Because sometimes, you'll get a couple months down the road, and then that agent will fall back into that, bad habit or something they did wrong, and then you can always refer back to that conversation, right? So I
yep,
think it's also important tracking, for individually each agent, because each agent might have something different that you have to teach them. One, it could be, the script and knowing the script, and another person, it could be completely different, like tonality or rebuttals, right? Everybody learns differently at a different pace, right? And so you're making sure that you're giving the agent the one-on-one attention they need in order to be successful. And I think that's very commendable of you to kind of like realize that and then come into your own on that. Man, throw a one in the chat for Amir on that one. I think that's like pivotal. I really do.
yeah.
Um,
So I mean, there's always a solution to something, right? Like either it can be like an appointment problem where you're not booking enough appointments. It could be like an
right,
activity problem. And if you sync up with your team week after week to figure out, okay, how'd your week go? Oh, you didn't, produce your goal of X thousand. Well, let's look at your numbers. How many people did you sit with? How many dials did you make? How many leads
right.
did you run? And honestly, shout out to you, Paul, because I know we've had those days where you would help me out with that. Like, let's go over your numbers, man. Like, how'd your week go? And then from there, you can always find the solution. Like you said, it could be like a tonality problem. So I always listen to my team's calls as well. I let them know that we have to make sure we're going live in these rooms, just because it might sound good to you when you're speaking to the client, but from a third
Yeah,
perspective, it might sound a whole lot different. So,
absolutely.
tonality problem, you don't have enough leads going out. It could be a booking problem, activity problem. There's always solutions to stuff out there, guys. So if you have a bad week, reach out to obviously your manager and kind of figure out what you can do to fix it, because there's always gonna be a solution.
So one thing I heard you say is that you feel like um, everything's kind of coming together for our group that's here on Zoom. And you talked about leads and resources, leaders that you can reach out to if you don't know the answer. Um, so would you say it's safe for people, that maybe not be in the same boat as you, where you kind of know everything more now, right? You said something earlier about I wasn't comfortable recruiting because I didn't know enough, right? Do you think it's do you think it's safe now for people that might not know everything to start recruiting now because they have all of us and all the resources to kind of help them um, build build their team?
I mean, they still have to, as a leader, if you're bringing somebody on, you still need to understand like the business and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, like there's people on you who understand it, but you yourself, if you bring somebody in and you don't know really what kind of direction to point them in, I mean, I think it's safe enough to still bring somebody into the business and introduce them to all of the great leaders here. Because even though we aren't, a lot of us here, like myself, I'm not a part of anyone's hierarchy here. So shout out to a lot of people that helped me out, like Laura, Braden, yourself, Paul, Amer. There's so many people here that will help you out that aren't even a part of your hierarchy. So I think it is safe enough to bring people in, even if you don't know the business yourself, because we have such great people here that will help out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's great because, you just mentioned the sales team, but you also mentioned, the admin team too, like the staff. And I think we got the best staff in the world, to be honest with you.
Amazing people.
Um, yeah, it's pretty good system that has been built over time, and I think everybody kind of benefits from that. Um, yeah, we don't want to mention Braden, but
I probably shouldn't have.
yeah, her head might get too big, um, but no, for real, honestly, jokes aside, they're all phenomenal.
I think
Yeah,
if you look at other agencies out there, they don't really have it like us
they
guys.
don't have it, no.
Oh,
Yeah,
VAs, all this kind of stuff, like they don't have it. I actually met a guy.
our
Um,
staff can even sell. Like I've heard Braden sell.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
capable of doing a
yeah.
lot of stuff. So we're grateful to have all of them. They've been a massive help to everyone here.
But so, now, like you said, you're not part of the hierarchy with the group here. You kind of came in as like I don't know how you'd say, an independent contractor, right?
Yeah, basically.
Um, and kind of just talking about the recruiting piece of it, right? Um, you were kind of in other Zooms and other places. Did they really focus on the recruiting? And if so, did you take anything from that you're applying now?
We kind of focus on recruiting, yes. But we didn't really have like all the live presentations. Um, Script training, I mean, we had that, but we all like would create our own Zoom, like me, Denny, and Z, and then Nedham as well. But back when we had started, it was just me, Z, and Denny. We would just create our own like Zoom, like open up a personal meeting room and just sit there, cameras off, just like looking at each other, like, what do we do? Um, so like we didn't really like have what
I'm
we
here.
have
It's like
now.
awkward.
Yeah, we really didn't have what we have now back then. So yeah, I mean that would probably be my answer.
All right. So for new people that are just joining us or coming on, what's three things that you think they should take full advantage of with the team that we got here?
First thing I would probably say is the CRM. Get on the CRM, but don't take advantage of it. Obviously,
What do you mean
still
by that?
still be making your dials. Like the CRM is not going to do everything for you. Back when it was created, that's what I thought it would do, right? I thought it was just going to book me appointments. I would show up to solid, sits and close them. But it got to a point where I was like, man, I'm not booking anything. Like, what am I doing wrong? And then some years like, man, you still got to dial. I was like, dial, man, I've done that in a long time. And honestly, I'm not a fan of like dialing, right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I went out there and I got a dialer to call for me, right? If I'm not gonna make the calls, I'll gladly pay somebody else to go and do it. Because me personally, I just want to work on selling. I don't want to work on like the dialing, that kind of stuff. So I went out, I got a dialer to solve my problems. That's one thing I would say.
But
Said,
before we go too far, I don't want to give people the wrong idea. You need to learn how to
oh
book
yeah,
yourself first. Yeah,
100%. 100%.
100% you need to do that. When you're making enough money, you can afford a dialer, then maybe you kind of visit that. And even if you have a dialer dialing, you should still be dialing yourself.
Yeah.
I look at the CRM and dialers as an extra person, right? That could help me get there. So if my schedule isn't completely booked or I have no time to dial, and then I'm dialing. Like
Yeah.
I want to make sure that we set the right tone for the whole group. I don't want anybody to be set up for failure.
Yeah,
But
like I mean, the first year and a half, it was just all me dialing, right? So I learned dialing. Obviously my dialer, he works mornings as well. So in the evening time, I mean, if you didn't book me anything, I'm still on the phones and I'm calling myself because
yeah,
if you're not sitting with people, you're not making any money. So you still need to be making
facts.
calls. Hopefully nobody took that the wrong way that you should not be dialing. You definitely should. You definitely should. But it might get to a point where you have so much leads to call that you go out and you hire a dialer. But definitely as a new agent, you should just focus on dialing yourself and getting activity in.
All right. And then what's the second thing?
Utilize the people. Obviously, there's so much great people on here who are all good at different things. Like Amer. Amer is probably by far one of the best trainers I would say in the entire FFL industry, right?
Yeah, throw a one in
Uh,
the chat for Ant.
yeah, throw a one, yeah. And then there's just so many good people here. So reach out to people, always ask questions. That would probably be my second piece of advice.
It's so weird because Ant makes so much money, but he doesn't let me borrow money either. I thought him and I were close, you know? Kind of weird, man. A lot of people here are stingy, bro. They don't give me their money.
That's how it is, man. Maybe you should
I know,
stop.
man. All right, then
Hey, bro,
finish
what
off
goes
with the
around
third
comes
thing.
around. You feel me?
Yeah, Anthony paid me lunch money the other day. I can't lie. He did send me some money. But what's the third and last thing that you think would be great for everybody?
Uh, Going live more. I feel like for some reason every time I do go off of mute here on these Zooms, breakout rooms, I close everyone that I sit with for some reason. Because I'm
Yeah,
actually following the script. I'm making sure I don't look stupid in front of people. So just go
right.
live. You know, even if you
Yeah,
don't close it, I tell everyone you're always gonna find the positives out of the negatives, right? So even if you don't close it, there's gonna be somebody on there that listened to it that might, have heard something, wrong that you could tweak. So just go live. Like we have that Discord chat, the live presentation. Just whenever you're going live, post them there. Have people listen to your calls. If you seriously want to get better, that's the way to get better right there, is just going live.
it's kind of strange, right? Because you think about that, right? Like going live, one, you have experienced people listening to you and can help you in the middle of the sit. So if you paid for a lead, but you're afraid to go live because you don't want to feel embarrassed, and then you
Yeah.
lose the sale, then it's not really smart business, right? Because you got the Anthonys, you got the Micahs, you got the Amirs, the people that have been here and can help you complete the sale. So it's always kind of confusing to me why people are more worried about being embarrassed as opposed to more worried about making money when this is your business. Like
Yeah.
it's completely
I don't
I
get
don't
it.
understand the thought process, right?
I don't get
But
it. Yeah.
not
Even
only that, you have an opportunity of people that are really good at selling that can help you. Hey, you know what? I was listening to it, and if you just tweak this
yeah,
part, you'll get the sale, right?
100%.
So yeah, that's mind blowing for me. But yeah, I think everybody who unmutes sells consistently and at a high level. It's weird, even if they're new, they're making sales,
Yeah.
right?
And listening to those live presentations, if somebody posts themselves going live in a breakout room, like hop in and listen to it. Like Sean and Rachel, I think every time somebody in the Discord posts they're going live, they alert their new agents to hop in and listen. I love that. Like if we do have any new agents, hop in those rooms and listen to those live presentations. Even if you don't know what you're doing, hop in and just listen. Listen to an actual sit, how it sounds like, how simple it is. Because a lot of new agents, they come in and think it's like the hardest thing ever. But once you listen to somebody actually doing it and following the script, they're like, oh wow, like maybe I can do this as well. So definitely push your agents to be listening in on those live presentations because it's going to help out a ton.
It's like if you play basketball but didn't let the coach see you practice or play the game, so they couldn't correct and make you a better player.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's funny. All right. So I first, man, I want to just thank you, man. Like, you know how I feel about you, man. We spend a lot of time, the late night conversations on Zoom and talking about the future and, the conferences and all that stuff, man. But I just want you to know, man, I think, from being able to watch somebody grow, like it has been an absolute honor and pleasure for me. And I know for a lot of us on here, Braden and Laura, they always speak so highly of you. You're just one of those type of people that thinks so far ahead. And I think that, um, I think I can't wait to see like when you call me and say, hey man, I made my first million, like I'm super excited about that for you.
Yeah, you're
Um,
going to be one of the first people I call, man. Honestly, I appreciate you. A lot of other people here as well. There's a lot
yeah,
of you. I can't name all of you guys, but all of you that have helped me, all those people that I've had that difficult conversation with of almost quitting the business, I appreciate you, honestly.
yeah. And,
Um,
and let's leave on that, right? What's something that you did when you got to a point where you felt like everything was failing and you were like, all right, I don't know if I can keep doing this because there might be other agents that are going through this right now or will go through it. What's kind of a solution for them for that?
So I did a good job of once this Zoom thing was created, making good relationships with people on here. So it's like I feel like I can always go to somebody if something is going wrong. So for those of you out there that have like in the back of your mind right now, like, oh shoot, this is not working. I want to quit. Reach out to somebody, get a second opinion. And it might just be like a little tweak, like either like your presentation or something, like your lead flow or something. Just reach out to somebody. That's honestly what I would say.
And I would say reach up, like reach up to an upline, even if it's not your own. I would suggest always going to your own. But if it's not in, like let's say Deborah, one of my people, she's reached out to, several different people on here, Samir's, Harold's, right? She's getting something from so many different people. And I think that's really important. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's not always reach out. It's like there could be somebody, a new agent who literally just went through the same thing that you did. And a simple question of, hey man, I'm doing something wrong. I'm on the
yeah,
verge of quitting. Like, do you have any tips for me? Somebody might have just gone through that. So they have like they could give you like a solution. So it's not
for
always
sure.
reach out. I would say just reach around, man. So many awesome people here. I'm grateful to be a part of.
All right. Hey, well, hey, man, thanks so much. I really appreciate you. Hope you can hang out a little bit here so that other people can ask questions. But appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. And until next time, we'll see you guys next Monday.
Appreciate you. Thank you.